I'm ahead of the curve, and in this book review, I will be talking about The Woman in Black, written by Susan Hill and first published in 1983. The Woman in Black kind of has a history for me. As you may know, it's a gothic sort of horror story, and it's a very short, sort of novella length book. And as you can see up there, it is quite a quick read. You could probably read it in about 3 hours or 2 hours, and obviously it's Halloween time, and I was thinking, well, I want to read something that, I don't know, gives me chills, right? And I didn't know whether I was going to review the book. I was a bit in two minds about it, but I thought, why not just talk about a book that I think is a solid Halloween read that's really easy to get through, and it will probably send a chill down your spine. And because it is so short, you can read it online or just have yourself a copy. It's about 200 pages on my vintage edition up there. So I wanted this review to be a bit more personal. I wanted to make it sort of a Halloween special kind of themed review. I mean, it's still a review, but it will be me talking like about my origin of reading the book and my experience seeing the live performance at the theatre in London, and me seeing the film with Daniel Radcliffe, which I really like, by the way. I think that is a solid horror film, and it's really funny because the bit where I jumped the most in the film was near the beginning, and it's just when like a tap goes off, and I remember at the cinema just jumping. I was probably like 11 or something. I do think the film is very, very solid, and it's a great adaptation from the book, because I would recommend the film if you want to watch a good horror film. I haven't seen it in a while now, but I've seen it a few times, and I must admit that like reading this book in tandem with the film is a really good idea, because they both have their own unique spins on the story, and I feel like maybe the film is even better than the book with Daniel Radcliffe. I know that there is an older film which I think is on YouTube, but that was 1980 something. So I've seen the film, and that was my first exposure to it, which I would rate highly. I went to see the theatre performance in London, the Woman in Black performance, and to this day, now I've seen a fair amount of theatre productions because I love going to the theatre, and I must say that one definitely stood out for me, and I think it's because the fact that the way they deal with horror, because I believe that it's only like three actors or two actors. I think it's three actors in the production. It's the sort of main character who's visiting this place. I probably should have talked about this at the beginning, but the premise is basically that this guy goes to, I'm forgetting it now. How about I read the back? Okay. Arthur Kipps, a junior solicitor, is summoned to attend the funeral of Miss Alice Dramblow, the sole inhabitant of Eel Marsh House. The house stands at the end of a causeway, wreathed in fog and mystery, but it is not until he glimpses a wasted young woman dressed all in black at the funeral that a creeping sense of unease begins to take hold, a feeling deepened by the reluctance of the locals to talk of the woman in black and her terrible purpose. So, yeah, he's visiting this place, and there's a mysterious woman in black. I'm going to talk about this story and the spoilers, because, as I said, I want this to be more laid back. Hence, I couldn't even remember the plot. But so I'm assuming you've seen this, the film, or read the book, because it's fairly popular. The book is fairly casual in its writing style. I mean, it's not sort of Dostoevsky or anything. I mean, it's not an amazing. It's good, but it's not like an amazing piece of literature. But I think for me, what does it is just how cold the ending is, and how the story transgresses into something dark and twisted. Especially how in many horror films or shows, books, the ending, there's some kind of resolution, right? And what happens in this book and in the film as well, and here's a bit of the differences as well with the film and the book. It is that the film, as we know, ends with the child being and him, the main character, being run over by a train in the film at the very end. And with the book, I suppose they're taking it back a bit more, although I think they're set in the same time period. But what happens at the end just always sort of strikes me as very savage, and for that reason, I don't know. I actually forgot how it happened because I just reread the book. I think I first read it a couple of years ago, and yeah, it just strikes a chord with me. I love it when films are just so dark at the end, like Drag Me to Hell. I mean, the ending to that is it's very dark, and as I said, a lot of the time horror films sort of have this resolution, the spirit being freed, but with what happens in this is that the guy he investigates the case, and nothing is heard from the woman in black, but he has a wife and he has a kid, and they're at this sort of theme park, and they're going around, the spiral sort of ride, and yeah, he sees the woman in black staring right into his soul, and a horse goes out of control, and it runs it runs them over, the wife and the child. And it is very riveting because throughout the story, he's a guy that he's very to himself. He doesn't describe himself as sort of intellectual or whatever, but he's just a sort of average Joe, and he's just sort of earnestly trying to understand what happened. And as we learn, the family was drowned in a terrible incident in quicksand, where the marsh is, where the house is, and so it's a terrible family history. But yeah, like what I like about the ending to this piece, and that is the highlight, I think, of the book. I think the film throughout is very scary, or if not scary, it's got some good. It's just a solid horror film that's very casual, but you can enjoy, and it's got a decent story. But what I liked about the book is definitely the ending, because, like I said, how unresolved it is, and how horrific it is. And whilst the writing isn't anything Stephen King necessarily, or whatever kind of author you want to plug in there, I think just how horrific it is, quite simply, because the wife is rendered disabled, and she gets a terrible disease, I believe, and and she dies within months, and the child was thrown against a tree and body crumpled, and the child dies, and it's just an incredibly sad and savage ending to the book. And there's a dog in this story as well that I felt that was very made it a bit more lighthearted. And yeah, it was just I guess it's that juxtaposition between the book being fairly casual, in its imagery, like when he first sees the woman in black at the funeral. I love that scene in the book. Very, very haunting. Yeah, I would recommend the book for anybody just wanting a casual sort of Halloween read. It's nothing profound in any sense, but it's just an entertaining book, and the same with the film. And I would also want to get out there just the theatre production. I believe it's still in circulation, but the Woman in Black theatre production in London, amazing. My favourite one that I've seen, and I've seen many great ones that I've really enjoyed, but that one just stuck with me because just the horror was handled so well, and all the smoke and everything. Just props to all of those guys in the theatre production. They did it so well. But yeah, no, I thought I'd just talk about a good Halloween book that I've read. And I thought you guys might be interested in my roots, I suppose, in reading it and my thoughts. Let me know if you read any books or watch any particular films at Halloween. I haven't particularly celebrated it too much. I mean, I've had my moments, I suppose, but I guess I just wanted to do something for the channel that was Halloween-ish, however way you want to define that, really. But I'd like to strike up a conversation. Have you read anything that is a really good horror book lately? Any good films that any of you guys have watched? I want to open up a dialogue of that sort. Any film recommendations, book recommendations, any of that stuff. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I just think the book is really cool. The theatre production is really worth seeing. The film is really good as well. I'd recommend that to anyone who's looking for a good Halloween flick to put on. So yeah, I've been ahead of the curve. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you soon.